Hey there, my name is Krish.
Hi, this is Meena.
We are partners at Snowpal. If you haven't checked out our product, please do so. Download our app from the App Store or Play Store and go to the web as well. We have a web SaaS platform too. Use them in all walks of your life, no matter what you do for a living. And stay organized, manage your projects better, and check out all the cool features we have, right? Without further ado, let me get into this video. I do a lot of these technical videos, but I just do them by myself. Today I just bugged my wife to join me in this video. So we had a small idea and we just want to see how it goes, right? So do you want to just give an introduction, Meena?
Right. We have front-end, middleware, and back-end, and we have 5 selections for each of it. And we're just going to randomly select one to get started today.
Right, so Meena has basically written down 5 of them that fall in each of those categories. And the idea behind this is she's going to play the role of, say, a CTO, right? And then she's going to pick one from each of those bottles. And can you just go ahead and pick one? But you want to just give an introduction to what those are, just to say.
Okay, so what are the technology stacks that's in these bottles, right? So start with the backend. DynamoDB.
That's Amazon's NoSQL instance.
Oracle.
We all know what it is.
Postgres.
It's a pretty good, relational database system.
MySQL.
Along the same lines as Postgres, you could just pick one or the other.
MongoDB.
Our NoSQL instance database of choice, that's what our product runs on.
PHP.
So you're going now to the middle.
Moving on to the middleware.
PHP is what Facebook was originally built on, and maybe a lot of what they do today could possibly still be running on PHP.
C#.
Microsoft's technology, the .NET framework, C#. We haven't worked much on Microsoft's world of technologies. It's mostly Linux and Mac for our deployments, development at home and for our work. But C# is actually, I look at it as Java on steroids. It's a beautiful language. So if you don't know, you should definitely check it out.
Node.js.
Server-side JavaScript.
Spring.
Java framework. I was never a fan of EJBs, and we've used Spring since the beginning of time. It's very good.
Ruby on Rails.
Which is what I've been doing as one of the few things that I do. And our product uses Rails as well. It's a good Ruby framework. It's got its pros and cons just like everything else, but it's pretty good.
Here's our selection list for front end now. Rails view.
If you are Rails sharp and if you didn't want to invest time and effort in integrating JavaScript frameworks, which you probably might want to do, like single page frameworks into the mix, you could just get started with Rails views. Angular is about 5 years old. Google's framework. It has had, it's changed quite a bit over the years. We don't have much experience personally, but it is a choice that you definitely want to check out if you're starting to build out web applications. Vue is something I used a couple of years back, but I was doing more of the work on the back end and the server side. But I was working with the team that is using Vue, so it's another single page framework which is also pretty popular.
React.
Facebook's framework, it's lovely. I'm a huge fan of React on the web, not so much on mobile, not React Native, but I love React, and React's changed over the years. It's not too old, but it's pretty cool, and that's actually generally our first choice in building web applications as we speak right now.
And
Flutter, I love Flutter. We use Flutter on our mobile devices. That's where how our iOS and Android apps have been built. We don't use it on the web, but we use it exclusively on mobile devices, right? So those are the options out there.
Shall we take picking?
Yep. You want to read out?
Yeah. We have React.
Okay, so that's for the front end. She's picked React.
This is the middleware C#.
Okay.
And for the back end, we have Postgres.
Okay, so it's React, C#, and Postgres, right? So, okay, let's leave it there. So, Meena has 2 questions, right? What is the first one?
Alright, so this is a technology stack that the company wants to go with. So, tell me why I want to go with this. The pros and
just the pros, right?
The pros first.
So essentially, we want to talk about let's say this is it. It's thrown at you. You're asked to use this, and you have to speak to why this is the best way to go, right? Let's play that role. So it was React, C#,
and Postgres.
And Postgres, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is a combination of technologies I've actually never worked on, right? So I'm not going to get it right. And even if I had worked on them, I would still not get it right. Not entirely so, but now at least I have an excuse for not getting it right? So I can defend myself. So the question is, speak to why this is the best way to go. Some part of that is an easy thing to say, right? React, let's start with React. So if you go to GitHub and check out the number of stars, number of forks, and just the usual metrics, right? Or you go to stackshare.io, I think, and look at the traction and adoptability of React, you'll see that it's phenomenally high. Like if you just check out the projects that have recently begun, have started in the last 6, 12, 18 months, and the ones that are in the pipeline in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, across companies of all sizes, this is not empirical data, but I have a hunch that React is going to be one of the top 3 for sure, and probably a number of them are actually going to pick React as their framework of choice. And there's many reasons for it, right? One is the community is growing. It's actually the community is growing, and it's growing because it's actually a beautiful front-end framework. And there's a lot of dependencies that it has. Whether you want to use React in entirety, like even in terms of route management and state management and whatnot, or if you want to integrate with other plugins, there's ways to doing it, and gives you a lot of flexibility there. And it just is very productive to get started with implementing your single page applications, right? So there's the pros for React in my mind would be the number of people using it, meaning the number of companies using it, the amount of help that you have available online in terms of examples, and how quickly you could possibly get started with React is actually a strong reason why you would want to go with it. And last but not least, from a developer standpoint, it's actually quite fun to write React code. That's never a negative, right? It's always a positive. So then, sorry, go ahead.
Selection, right? So let me. Something that comes to my mind is, so you've got Postgres.
No, we haven't even gone there yet. So do you have any questions with the React defense, line of defense?
No, not the React.
Okay, so what is the next one we want to talk about? Is it middleware, right? What is the middleware? C#, right?
Middleware C#.
So before we go there, you want me to just talk about .NET?
No, before that, I think we want to talk about, this is a selection that's given to you, right?
Correct.
So would you like to correct them? Would you want to do anything other?
No, but I thought the basic assumption was that you're joining a team, this is what they're using, or this is what you want to use. For whatever reason, the decision has been made, and I've been asked to defend or state why these are the best ways to go about solving the problem.
So I'm thinking about, so I'm telling you that this is what we have come up with. Okay, so now I need your opinion on, okay, is this the reasons why we came up with, is there anything, do you want to see whether there's an option to change it, or would you still...
I thought the assumption was I had to defend why these were the best ones to go with. This is a different question, right? Okay. So that was not the original question. So I'm just going to answer the original question, which was, hey, I want to go with this. Can you tell me why this was the best way to go?
Okay.
Right? And then we can come back with a new third question after we finish the existing 2 questions. Yeah.
Okay.
So the middleware is .NET and C#, right? Okay, why would you want to go with that? Again, C# is a beautiful language in itself. And the framework, the world that it lives in, I have to make a lot of assumptions here because I've actually done almost no work. I did one work for a larger company many years ago where we had to integrate a Java project. We had to have 2 systems that coexisted. So we have to be able to share these objects between Java objects to be runnable in the .NET runtime environment and vice versa. But that apart, I don't have any experience. So I'm going to say that there is a large community, right? Of people using this. Outside the language, I'm pretty certain the dependencies and the ecosystem that C# lives in is probably pretty stable at this point, right? It's several years old. And then plus if you want to deploy them, maybe in Amazon's cloud, we use EC2 exclusively. But again, if you want to do it in Azure, for instance, I'm sure there's a lot of touch points and integration that you might magically get out of the box. I'm quite confident about it. So that in that sense, I think it's not a bad place to be in, right, from a middleware standpoint.
Yeah.
And then the front end was?
No, we're going to talk about the backend. We've already spoken.
Oh, sorry. We're going to go to
Backend.
Postgres, right?
Yes, Postgres.
Postgres again. If you want to start off with something that is not, it's open source. It doesn't cost you a lot of any money, right? Then obviously where you deploy from a hosting provider standpoint is going to cost you, but just otherwise, right? It's a relational database system. It's actually it is pretty good to work with. It deals with you can store. Most of the databases, RDBMS, they have a lot of these things in common, but just to call it for some things, if you want to store like JSON data in your tables and extract them, there is support in the queries. It's outside of the ANSI SQL. You can use Postgres specific queries, from what I can tell, to be able to extract data, things of that nature. And otherwise, I don't know, between MySQL and Postgres and even Oracle to some extent, I don't tell a world of a difference. There could be specific ways how it does certain things, like, okay, how does a query execute, right? How does an explain plan read? How does the optimizer pick a plan? And how do you read the plan that it spits out? Those are the variations, but that's, just differences between products. But there's no reason I can think of why I wouldn't want to go with an RDBMS that's PostSQL, right? There's no negative aspect to it. So those are the pros, right?
Yeah. So tell me what problems I might see, or is this a good idea, or is it the cons of it?
I wanted that to be a little more dramatic. Meena is more composed than I am. So the whole idea was, the two things that we decided before the video was, hey, why would you go with these three things, right? Pick three at random and just talk, defend why they are the best ones, and then flip the coin and then say why those exact three things that were the best ones like a minute ago are actually the worst choices to go with, right? So that's the level of drama I was expecting in that switch, but she said it in a more composed manner. But now let's say what it is, right? And this is a reflection of our general life as well. So we agree on some things, and then we disagree, and then we finally do what I probably wanted to do to begin with, unfortunately for her. So we'll go with the React, right? So why would React? Oh, this is a tough one. Why would I not want to pick React? Okay, a few things could be you have an existing product. Like we have a product which was built not originally on React. And
let's decide on that. These technology stack must have been selected because there is an existing application, right? So let's say otherwise.
Not true, right? It could be a greenfield project where you are leaning as a CTO, you love to do that stuff and you feel like that's the right way to go. So it's all right to feel that way.
I would think that anyone in this field right now, in order to get more people, to get developers and ease of getting developers, you'd go with the latest of all the technologies, right? Isn't that the
Yeah, if you're starting something brand new, but I don't know if we set that expectation right to begin with, right? I don't know if we said that explicitly. We said you might have products and other applications in production. Maybe you don't have this one that you're building. Maybe you have 5 other applications.
Let's put it this way then. Would anyone come up a brand new selection? Would anyone come up with this? I can see React, I can see C#, but Postgres in the back end, unless there's...
there's no reason. There's nothing wrong in there. If you love RDBMS and you want to go with one, you've done quite a bit of work with Postgres in the past, so there's no reason.
RDBMS, we know Oracle is the best already, right? So why would they?
I don't ever use the word best. It's very subjective, but Oracle is not free either. You're going to pay for it.
So are we saying the choice could have been because...
Yeah, the cost is certainly a choice, but outside of that, then you could argue, why not MySQL, right? Why not something else, right? So there's all these options, but I still want to complete the line of thought, right? So we said the second part of the question was why. We said
why not?
Why did I don't know if I finished answering the React not being. Yeah, I know maybe I didn't answer, right?
Yeah.
So one of the reasons could be you have a team that has experience. Like we started out building on Backbone and Marionette like 2 years ago, where there's a lot more popularity. Like Backbone was quite popular like 24-30 months back, right? But again, when you're in production, like we've been for close to a year now. You have to make these. We have users. We have people signing up on a daily basis. We have to maintain our stability and then prove that we are performant. And then we have to keep improving our features. So we don't have the luxury of changing and picking like we would have had the luxury like a year ago, right? So we have a commitment to our users. So we have to introduce new pieces slowly, but then we have something that we've built a lot of our pages on. So the argument could be, hey, if I want to make that switch, does it have to be a dramatic or an overnight switch, or can it be organic? How soon should I do it? And what is the learning curve? If I go with React, can I just go with React, or do I need Redux for like state management? Or can I use Relay for state management, for instance, right? So there's choices you want to make. And what other JavaScript frameworks do I want to have introduce into the mix? How well does React work with those? All of those things. So there is a learning curve depending on how much of React you want to use on day one. So if that's not going to solve your problems in the near future, maybe React is not what you want to go with, right? So it's less about I'm going to be like, hey, maybe it's not the right choice, because you don't want your team to learn something. We all want to learn something new. That's the best way to live life. But maybe in the next 3 months you don't have the time or money to doing it, so maybe we should not go. That's me playing the devil's advocate, right? And then the middleware was C#.
Yes.
Well, this is easy. As difficult as React was, this is easy because, just like Rails is opinionated software, a lot of us are opinionated as people, and it doesn't even have to be right opinions, right? It's just what you like to do, because when you see something, you like it. There's not a whole lot of reasons. Sometimes you just like the syntax, you like the feel, like a Windows machine versus a Mac, right? I used to work on Linux machines and then on Mac for many years now. I love Apple. We all do. I would never sign up to doing work of anybody on a Microsoft machine. Just me. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't enjoy it, right? And life is short. You got to live it to your fullest. So in that sense, if someone gave me a choice between, say, Java and C#, and if those were the only options, I would pick Java. Actually, you know what? I would pick C# because I like to do something I've not done in the past, so that's a problem. So to be honest, I would actually not pick Java because I've done a lot of it, and Meena does it on a daily basis. But still, if I have to speak to not choosing it, I think you're going to have to write C# code. I would imagine, even if you're doing it on VS Code on a Windows machine, and if I don't want to ever have anything to do with that operating system, for whatever reason, then maybe that's not what I want to go with, right? So that's easier to argue in that sense, at least.
Well, you can't sell that to the team, though.
Well, you can say any of this to anybody. That's a different problem altogether. But I'm just saying, you can try to win that argument that way, saying, you know what, I don't want to do development on a Windows machine, right? That's it. Yeah. What about the
back end was Postgres.
Okay, back end is Postgres, and well, the argument could be I don't want to work. I don't want to pick SQL if I don't have to pick SQL databases anymore. It just takes too much time and effort. With no SQL, there's no migrations. It's a whole lot easier. I don't have to worry about changing data types of columns and writing scripts to changing something that's in production already, and worrying about regression and backporting and compatibility, backwards compatibility, and all of that nature, right? With no SQL, all of this happens on the fly, so I'm not pre-creating these tables or documents, tables or collections or records or documents, right? I have, like, our product uses my MongoDB, and we have new features all the time, and then even on existing features, we add new attributes all the time, so we don't have to worry about writing migration scripts to changing whatever is already there. So, and then we can do a lot of stuff dynamically. If I want to point to multiple databases at runtime, I can do that. I don't have this hardwiring of configuration. So there's a lot of flexibility that NoSQL brings to the table, outside of the most obvious, which is the data being unstructured, right? Even if your data is reasonably structured, I still would lean towards NoSQL, something I'll just think is more productive, unless you can justify that you have to go the SQL way. So a lot of it is not against Postgres. I would just make that argument against SQL. And then since Postgres is an RDBMS database, I'm saying, okay, maybe we don't want to go with that.
So we'll have to cut out all SQL, no Oracle, no Postgres.
No, yeah, I'm just talking about Postgres in this particular instance, right? So this is an example of, we can take 3 and say why we want to go with it. You take the exact same 3 and why you don't go with it. And what was the essence of this conversation, right? There has to be a reason why we had. A lot of times there isn't, but this time actually there might be. It's that every technology is, I think the tool is only as good as the individual using the tool. I've felt this extremely strongly. I'm not saying you build flat file or VSAM or on those old 100-year-old databases. or use like COBOL. I'm not saying that at all, right? Not me, never. We use like 15 different languages and frameworks. That's an exaggeration, but you get the idea. In our existing Snowpal products, suite of products, right? Application, web, middleware, UI backend. But having said that, you don't want to be too bogged down by what you're picking, right? You pick one, there's many reasons, you like it, you don't like it, your team knows it, there's a learning curve, the community, there's larger community that's adopted those frameworks and libraries. So go with, spend a few days, whatever your time is, make a decision. But, how you use that is entirely left to your team's abilities and skill sets, right? You could take any of these post-it notes and any of them in any combination can still make it work. I mean, they may not be the best of combinations, but you can still make it work. At the same time, you can build not just make it work, you can build a phenomenal product, right? And we believe our product is phenomenal, and we make the right decision at every step of the way with the information, money that we have at hand, which is generally not a whole lot. Neither money nor information, right? So, but the thing is, you need to go with what you have and do the best job. We don't believe that there cannot be an excuse saying, hey, because you gave me Postgres, because you gave me React, because you gave me Oracle, I cannot do my job. That's an excuse, a bad one. Nobody's going to buy that. Don't try selling it, right? So the whole purpose of this conversation, which ends up always being a monologue to a large extent, is the fact that you can go with any of these and do a good job, or you can go with any of these and do a terrible job.
Okay. So lastly, so based off of all of our selections, right? So here is a list that we had.
You have to show it on.
Here's a list that we have.
We'll try to record this. This is basically, you can see it, that's like a long way away, but yep.
So which would be your best pick?
So outside of the ones you picked?
Outside the ones. So now let's say that I'm telling you that, okay, so
you can go with any of these.
Yeah. If you've given, so for some said reason, this is the list that we have, and this is what we've picked. From your expert opinion, based off of your expert opinion, what do you, if you were to decide, right?
I just say opinion. I'm not an expert. So it's not an expert opinion based if I had a choice.
Yeah, if you had a choice, which combination would you go with?
Yeah.
So
I'm going to say what I'm going to go with. Why, we'll probably do it in the next video, right? I'm going to say why I'm going to go with those options. On the web, what are the options we had again? We had React, Angular, Vue, Rails views. I remember, right? React, Angular, Vue. We had vanilla Rails views, and then we had one more in that mix. Flutter, okay. So I would go with it has to be some between React and Flutter. I would go with one of them. I feel like I want to go with React just because I've done more React on the web. I've not done Flutter on the web. But I actually love that a whole lot. When we picked, you know what I said, I'm not going to explain why. So I'm going to say why. So I'm going to go with React or Flutter and spend more time trying to figure out which way to go with, right? Which one to go with essentially. Yeah.
Right. So
and middleware we had Rails, PHP out. I'm not going to do it. Yep.
C#.
No, I don't think so.
Node.js.
What else is there in the mix? And Rails.
Spring and Ruby.
Yeah, I think I would go with Node. Yeah, I don't know. It's just because I love Node on this. You know what? I'm not going to say why. I'm just going to go. You know what? Between Node and Ruby, I would evaluate and assess them. But we'll talk about why and which way to go in the next one.
Okay. Lastly, the backend. We had DynamoDB.
Oracle. A lot of times, most of them you can afford it. I don't want to justify why I keep forgetting that. I'll probably go with MongoDB, right? Okay. Maybe with DynamoDB as well. I'm not sure, it's a toss-up, but one of those essentially, right? So I guess that's good enough for this video, unless you want to say something else.
No, that is it.
Okay, so hopefully we gave you some idea, right? And if it did not give you any idea, hopefully the next one will, because hope is life. We keep hoping, and you should do as well. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to download or check out our product on the web. If you have any questions about it, feel free to hit us up and ask us. We love our product. That's because it's ours, but I'm pretty certain you will love it too. Thank you.